Okay, it is May 29th, 2017, Monday. It's actually Memorial Day here in the USA. 3:07 p.m. I cannot believe it. May 29th, 2017 is halfway over. Time flies when you're having fun. Hey, Hassam Shar, how's it going? I'm doing well. Let me get a cup of tea. Hey, bonjour, super cool ninja. Il fait chaud. Oh. En France, mais non. I've heard it's super hot in France right now. Oh, we got the tea. Hey, yeah. Let me see if I have I don't think I have enough subscribers. I'd like to have one, like a tea and a coffee one. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. I only have 40 subscribers, so. Il fait trop chaud, oui. 28 degrés. Okay, let's get to work. Well, thank you all for joining us. Well, joining me. How's everyone's weekend? Man, I'll save this story till later. Let some people filter in. More level design. I want to finish up this level today. You can see we got these new columns. Super happy with them. Yeah, just look at that. Well, it's not a weekend. I don't really do weekends. I work every day. So, quick bit of bookkeeping, I guess. It's not really bookkeeping. Some cool level design tips. Student. So, recently discovered that SketchUp is a fantastic tool for studying architecture. Seems very obvious. But, you know, if you've been watching the stream for a while, you'll know that I'm a big fan of Frank Lloyd Wright's work, and, you know, his stuff has been a big influence on Manifold Garden. You know, a lot of times previously what we were doing was just kind of using Frank Lloyd, you know, kind of Googling Frank Lloyd Wright and then using, Frank Lloyd Wright architecture and kind of trying to piece together, you know, certain properties or elements of style in his work. And you can get pretty specific. So, for example, the Darwin Martin house you know, we're kind of looking at this and studying it, but you can only do so much with pictures. And, you know, this is in Buffalo. I can't go visit all of these in person. I'd love to. One day I should, you know, I should make that sort of like a life goal. You know, visit all of the remaining Frank Lloyd Wright buildings. Be a really fun way to kind of travel. I like traveling with purpose. But aside from actually going to the house and walking around, I think the next best thing is, you know, getting one of the models from SketchUp Warehouse. And it's fantastic. So, you know, this haven't really done the interior. So, for example, if we look inside this hallway, you'll notice that it's very different, right? They're missing kind of some of the details here. I think that's just because they didn't really do the interiors, but the exterior looks quite good. It got sold to Trimble, which I was quite surprised by. I didn't realize Google sold things. I thought they just bought everything. You know, I was talking about that yesterday. Like, why would you want to buy something that Google's trying to sell? It's like, wait a minute, you guys don't want this? Google's like, yeah, this is too hard to maintain. Why don't you take it off our hands? No, thank you. Well, it looks like he has sort of done the interior, but not. Yeah, it's not quite as detailed. Anyway, this has been kind of a really cool way to study Frank Lloyd Wright architecture. This is the Darwin Martin House. Not sure which one this is. This is the Unity Temple. Right, kind of allowed me to kind of zoom in and take a look at all the details in the column, which I then stole. Not stealing, taking inspiration from. I mean, it ends up looking very, very different, right? The problem is SketchUp and Unity Editor and Manifold and No Clip Mode all use different systems for moving around, so I rely on muscle memory to press the shortcuts, but I kind of have to switch between them. So yeah, this was like, you know, studying this column and try to recreate that. I mean, it ended up looking very different, but you can kind of see how I've kind of kept some of the elements. It's got the feel of it. Here we've got the Roby house. Beautiful. This guy did the interior on this one. Just absolutely lovely. Look at that. Look at that. You know, one of the Doombox. Bonjour. I'm not sure if you were here for this, but I was talking about SketchUp as a resource for studying architecture. So many Frank Lloyd Wright models to look at in detail. Here's his other one. This is the Larkin building, and this is demolished, so you can't go to this in person. So this really is the best thing available. But just look at that. You're able to look at the column details up close. This guy's also done the interior. So right, just now I've turned off the materials so that it's kind of this single solid color, just because it's a little easier for me to see the lines. I'd love to is there a way to render? I wonder if they do rendering. Yeah, I didn't. Oh. Ah, see, that's cool, right? Like, you can't. I mean, it's, you know, I am sort of kind of assuming that this is more or less accurate. Like they, you know, whoever made this took the time to research his buildings and the floor plan plans, but it's just so I am relying on the good faith of the creator, but this is pretty useful nevertheless. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Is that a... Wow, look at that. It's beautiful. Anyway, the other thing I want to talk about is... Wow, 3,799 followers. We are almost going to get to 4,000. Fatigué aujourd'hui, mais aujourd'hui, c'est un jour où nous ne devions travailler pas. Nous ne devions pas travailler. Nous n'avons besoin pas travailler. Mais, ooh, my French is a little rusty. Alright, so SketchUp to study architecture as a resource for level design. It's out of the way. Oh, so we're going to be doing the Unfolding the Garden show every Saturday, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1900 hour UTC. We'll do like 90 minutes. I'll play through old builds of Manifold Garden, talk about how its design evolved over time, you know, how ideas changed and so on. Should be very exciting. I hope you guys can join us. And this, yeah, it'll be 90 minutes. You'll get archived to YouTube. And then there's just something on my mind to the third thing that I want to talk about before we jump into level design is, you know, looking at this Kickstarter for a game. You know, I think the Kickstarter was about three years ago. Hey, Sky Eye Dreamer. Now, I'm not gonna name the game or the developer, but I guess, you know, it was a successful Kickstarter. They raised about $100,000. That's no, $100,000 is certainly quite a lot of money, but not really for game development, right? I mean, that's for going with a $50,000 salary, which is lower than kind of that, you know, a junior programmer at a game studio makes about 70,000. So this is on the lower end, but just for the sake of argument, that's only a programmer and an artist full time for a year. It's not nothing. Anyway, they as with all game development projects, they've missed their deadlines a few times, and the dev hasn't been communicating as much. And if you look at the comments on the Kickstarter page, it's all very angry. You know, lots of people asking for refunds. They're posting his address and phone number and email and contact information for his family and telling people to reach out to them. And I just want to say, don't do that. And if you see that being done, don't do it. I'm not going to name the game. I don't want to draw attention to it. And it's not that game. It's not, the problem is not specific to that game, right? I think, anyway, you know, a lot of people calling them scam artists, and I just want to say that, you know, game development is really hard with a lot of uncertainties and unknowns, and you know, I think with Kickstarter, there's a risk, and a lot of times these projects go over budget, they get delayed, and this isn't, you know, I haven't done a Kickstarter for the game, but it was something that I was seriously considering, and you know, I was looking at it in 2014. I ended up going with Indie Fund, but I could have just as easily done a Kickstarter, and for the amount that I was asking, it would not have been enough, right? I definitely have delayed the game, you know, it's 2017, I'm still haven't released it. So it's like I would have delayed it, I would have needed additional funds. Yeah, but, you know, it is certainly good for developers to be in communication, but that's still, the developer not communicating super often is still not a green light for people to start doxing them or harassing them. So I just want to, it's communication is important, but I also know sometimes, you know, life happens, and because you know, last year I'd gone, you know, around October there was a lot of personal stuff, like there were some changes with the people I was working with, and there was a death in my family. So, you know, like, and I had to kind of take over the code. I mean, I was streaming for a lot of that, but it was definitely harder to kind of be posting regular updates. So, yeah. All that is to say, just, you know, don't dox developers and don't harass them. It sucks when they're not communicating the status of the game, but yeah, that's not it's not okay to do that. So, you know, I just wanted to do my share of kind of address this problem. Yeah, and I don't have a solution. You know, I think with the nature of Kickstarter is you ask for money. You know, people say, okay, well, maybe you shouldn't do a Kickstarter unless your thing is almost done. And it's like, well, if the thing's almost done, then you kind of don't really need Kickstarter, right? Like, it's not... I know a lot of studios will do a Kickstarter more as a marketing thing. Like, they don't really need the money, but, you know, it gets people feeling invested, so they kind of do it in the end. And I see a lot of people say, well, like, well, you know, this game got made for $50,000. Why can't you do it with $100,000? And it's like, well, maybe the team that did it for 50, they, you know, they all had a ton of savings. Maybe they got some outside investment as well. So it's yeah, it's an interesting thing what Kickstarter has done. It's sort of it's kind of given you the idea, giving people the impression that like you can make a game for $50,000. Which is not true. I mean, yeah, some people can, some games can, but for as far as a normal game development budget goes, 50 is kind of trivial. That's not even enough to pay a programmer average salary for a full year. Anyway, I just wanted to get that off my chest. Because it was kind of heartbreaking for me to read these comments. Anyway, let's before I get started, let's kind of hit play and go into this level and take a look. I did some work on it. Yesterday I was at this barbecue and they had a pull-up bar. Actually, it wasn't wide enough for pull-ups, but this guy was there and they were doing chin-ups, and he was like, "Oh, let's do a chin-up competition." And I didn't really participate, but then he was like, "Oh, you know, let's see who can do the most." And I reluctantly did it. And of course I won. I did 9. But I ended up kind of spraining my neck, which happens if you the last time it happened was when I was doing pull-ups and I tried to do more than I normally do, because what happens is by the end you're sort of stretching your neck, you're like straining your neck to go over the bar. And now my neck hurts, but that's what I get for trying to show off. Yeah, it's a human thing, but it's an internet thing, really. I know it's a human thing, but the internet sort of amplifies that. Yeah, and it was heartbreaking because I could very easily see myself in the position that this developer was in. Which. So it was very easy to see how these comments could be directed at me, right? And we're all working really hard to make this passion project, but it's hard to I don't know, game development, man. Yeah, and so I'm streaming to try to give you guys a sense of that, and the fact that Manifold Garden hasn't shipped yet is not due to lack of trying. It's just, this thing is massive, and there's so much stuff you need to bring together. I think devs just know. Oh, fantastic! I backed it. I backed XO1. That is awesome. Jay Weston. One of our viewers. Yeah, I mean, it just, I can see that. When I started this project, I thought I was going to be done in 3 months. So, so I understand where gamers are coming from. Yeah, I think all Kickstarters like that. It's like a big spike at the beginning, and then it sort of plateaus off. I saw it too, because I didn't back until I think like the last 3 days. So he announced it, and I was like, "Oh, this looks cool. I want to fund it, but I'm doing some other stuff right now. I got 30 days. I'll come back." And it's like, "Oh, it's almost over." All right, Ebol Ortega. Will I continue game development? I'm not sure yet. That is one of the unknowns. Yes, yeah. The did I post? I posted that video, right? It's fantastic. I know. So By the way, just let me be clear, there is no multiplayer in Manifold Garden. There are no guns. No story. I mean, there's a narrative, but there's no voiceover. There are no funny jokes. There are just really cool looking columns and windows and puzzles. Manifold Destiny. Oh, so anyway, I'm super happy with these new columns that I added. This is how it was before. Look at this. This is like you and the guy she tells you not to worry about. Right? Like, just look at that, huh? Look at the way we've done all this. Like, just look at how boring this is, right? Look at these columns compared to these ones. Right? Like, just look at the difference there. So what I love this, kind of having that variation in depth, because what it does is it also creates additional lines. So this is one of the things I'm doing is, no, not all the levels. I gotta ship the game. If I do that, I think that add another year. Or maybe not. I mean, but I need to focus on the important things first. The columns are important to me, but not as much to the overall game experience. I don't know about installations. I don't want to use balloons anymore. I would, yeah. It's I think for now, by the time I'm done with Manifold Garden, it'll be about 5 years, and kind of looking forward to just not committing to anything for a while. Anyway, let me talk about this observation I had with Blame. Well, actually, my roommate pointed it out. But notice how, like, this space feels massive. Blame, it's a manga by Tsutomu Nihei. Highly recommend checking out the word blame with an exclamation mark at the end. It's pronounced blam. There's a Netflix feature-length movie. Very different from the manga. It's sort of like a single episode in the manga. They turn it into a movie. Recommend checking out, but definitely read the manga. But so this space feels massive, and we're talking about like why does it feel this way? We're both kind of using lines, and I think what it is and this is what my roommate pointed out, is the variation in density, right? So we have this patch here that's variation in the frequency of detail. I mean, this is kind of just blank, but then we look at if we look at these green areas, right? It's so full of details, and it's the contrast between them that gives that sense of scope. It's a comparison between small details, small and high, low and high density of details. So that is sort of something that I'm trying to do now in Manifold Garden. It's something I'm very conscious about. Right, and we can see immediately how this is so much more interesting. Just like this here is so much better than this. Although this is a tool called Zoom It that I'm using, which lets me draw on the screen. Super handy for the stream. I used to have to take a screenshot, open up Photoshop, and talk about it. Now I can just do that. Hey, Skyway, how's Memorial Day going for you? All right, so here again, I want to put something. I want to put something here. Like I want to have these bars going down to just split up the monotony, because that, like something, right? You want to avoid long stretches of flat, but maybe not. This is not the most important. But just look at how slow it feels. Yes, Ezra is the one that told me about it. I asked him. I was like, "What is that awesome tool you are using?" Oh, here's also one more thing I want to talk about. I'll talk about as I'm kind of working, which is that there's a really great talk from Ryan Clark. You know Ryan Clark from Clark Tank, creator of Crypt of the Necrodancer. And Ryan gave this talk at Full Indie Summit last little while ago. This video was posted in. The thing with the normal textures is you have to. It doesn't change the geometry, right? So, and you can get anywhere in the game. Like I don't have anything that's far off that the player can never get to. If I did have that, I would for sure use normal textures. It's huge pain otherwise. Yeah, this thing, I don't like their intro, but Ryan gives a talk about sort of the process he uses to choose to make a game that's going to be a hit. Now, one thing I want to point out is this. So, I guess walking simulators are on the up and up. Survival's on the up and up. Action RPGs going down. Multiplayer versus going up. Puzzle adventure going down. So, now, and then I agree. I think puzzle adventure is down on the trend. And I think one of the most important skills as an indie developer is learning to be completely honest with yourself. Now the thing is, this is not necessarily a bad thing, because the thing with trends is it can be hard to. It's like if you get the timing right, it's good. And this is, I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but if you get the timing right, it's good, right? If you get the timing wrong, it's bad. Like if you're just sort of riding the trend. Part of it too is like these are a lot of these games. I'm making. I wouldn't be making any other game, you know, if that makes sense. Right, like I had this idea for this game. I didn't even play games, and I wanted to make it. And Manifold Garden is sort of the manifestation of that. I guess what I'm trying to say is the important thing is to not be in denial. So just to be aware of this, and then think about like what can you do to work with. It's just like you want to be. You know, sometimes I'll tell people this, and some people will be like, "Oh no! Puzzle adventures are not going down. There's a big community," and I don't think it does anything to does you any good to sort of be in denial, right? But instead, it's like, okay, well, what can I do to make this game more appealing to a bigger audience? So one of the things is it's you know, I kind of shifted a lot of the focus from the puzzles to the architecture and the art style, and it's very open world, so you don't have to do a bunch of puzzles in a sequence. Like, I think you can beat the game with like 25% of the puzzles solved, 25 to 30, so that anyway can get. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be your deciding factor, but it's just good to be aware of that information. You know, so you know how to use your strategy effectively. Right, so I'm making Manifold Garden like, you know, I'm taking some lessons from these city building games where, or these games where you have like, how do I say this? You know how some games they're like Stardew Valley, it's got forget what it's called, but it's basically like you want to go on a date with a girl in the game or something, but in order to go on the date, you gotta get a suit. In order to get the suit, you have to make this much money. But in order to make this much money, you gotta sell like this much produce, and to sell this much produce, you gotta have this farm. But in order to get the farm, you gotta, you know, get the shovel or something. But before you get the shovel, you gotta like help this guy catch his cat. So you're catching the cat, but really what you're trying to do is like go on a date. You know what I mean? So it's got like all these different sort of simultaneous goals, and then like by the time you know you sort of do one, and then something else comes up, and it kind of keeps you very invested. And I think a lot of puzzle games, if you're just like one puzzle after another, you don't kind of get that same feeling, right? So it's like, how do you... So a lot of what Manifold Garden, like a lot of how the design has shifted is sort of adding some of that. Adding a sense of mystery, adding this sort of overall goal that you're doing and you're fulfilling, and these multiple purposes and multiple threads. Yeah, like kind of weaving different mechanics threads in. Yeah. So you get a girl. You gotta help a guy catch his cat first, and then, you know, then you can go on a date. So yeah. Anyway, I think it's good to be aware of that. It's always hard to be honest. It's always, you know. So yeah, it's a very difficult thing to be completely honest with yourself, but I think that's something you have to get good at, and you have to do on a regular basis, which is why I love people who are super honest. You know, you got those people that are like, they'll be like, your hair sucks today. You're like, oh, why did you tell me that? But then, you know, you want to go back to them for their opinion, because you know they're going to tell you the truth. And so yeah. Yeah, I've as I've gotten older, I have come to appreciate honesty in people so much more. But it's also on your part, right? As if somebody is honest with you, don't get mad at them. You guys know what I'm talking about? There's like some people they get defensive and then you're like, well, okay, I guess next time I just won't tell you what I think. Anthony Sturdy, 1000H. It's a download trend game, except like people who play Harvest Moon when they were a kid never shut up about Harvest Moon. So he took the Harvest Moon target, that market, right? Like seriously, people spend like. I remember I was in Calgary once on a train, and this woman was telling me about Harvest Moon. It was the first time I heard about Harvest Moon, and this was like before I was in games. So I didn't have any Canadian money, and I just like it's an honor system, but some problems with my credit card because I think I didn't tell them I was going to be in Canada, so they froze my account. So I didn't have a way to pay for the train. I was like, I'll just write it. And then this woman was very nice, and she just gave me $2. She just bought me a ticket, and then we started talking. She was telling me about Harvest Moon and how she was like, she had just spent like $100 to get the old cartridge. That was the first time I heard about Harvest Moon. So Harvest Moon fans are hardcore. 2 tiers behind. 2 tiers. 2 years of tears. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's always easy to be like what even is this? All right, you know what I need to do is I need to take a second and reorganize this thing. And it's getting to that point where I can't move things around. Like, so this thing is off by 0.25. You see that? Like, it's the most frustrating thing. But I didn't, I have all these pieces split up differently, so. Oh, the fuck? $43 for the Stoic, approximately 300. Hey Anthony, so yeah, let me here is this this video. I made a development update video. Yeah, it's not a puzzle adventure game. Puzzle exploration, architecture game, physics sandboxy sort of. A little aware of using. Oh, what the? Why can't I click on this box? Okay, this is the... Hold on. I gotta close Unity. Sometimes it does this thing where you like can't click on stuff. Alexander Ramai, welcome back. Yeah, that's not happening. If I do that, that's gonna add another 2 years. Well, it's gonna be a totally different game. Yeah, Unity has these weird errors. No, we're not. No, we were talking about. You know, Ryan Clark. He's another game developer. He's on Twitch as well. He does his weekly show where he analyzes the game market. But he's got this this video that talks about how he makes his sort of strategy for making a financially successful video game, occasionally a hit. He made Crypt of the Necrodancer, and it's how he sort of has this process of analyzing trends and well, puzzle adventure games are on a downward trend. And I was kind of talking about how it's not, you know, I'm not in denial of that, but more like, okay, what can I then do to maximize my chances, you know, for the game being commercially successful? Hey, Ether Audio, it's been a while. How's everything going with you? What time is it in Europe anyway? Oh, there we go. So yeah, now I can click on it. Yeah, I find when that happens, you usually just have to the game engine using has a tutorial about posting stuff to FB or whatever through the game, and I was thinking that it would be cool. I shouldn't buy things in the game instead of real money. Maybe, although people tend not to like that stuff. Like I remember when Facebook games were big, and I was getting, you know, it was like some people I barely met, and then they'd be spamming me with all these Facebook game invites. So you'll want to make sure you do it tastefully, I think. Yeah, like what's a good game to check out is I think that did that well. Sword and Sorcery did that. They got, like, you could post on Twitter when something cool in the game happened, and I think that worked really well for them. Like, you want to do it where people want to share, like something cool happens and they want to share it, as opposed to like, I guess I will do it. So, what have you missed? Not too much. Just been working on level design. You know, we're gonna do this new show every Saturday, about 90 minutes. You know, I'll probably do some development before and after that. But it's because, you know, right now I just sort of stream whenever I'm working, but this now is like 90 minutes once a week, and I'll be playing through old builds of Manifold Garden, you know, starting from the ones in 2012 and working up to the present, and hopefully sort of by the time we kind of get near the end of this series, the game will be ready to launch, so we can sort of time that. But yeah, it's a, you know, there will obviously be spoilers. But for people who are interested in kind of the nitty-gritty of game design, I think that might be interesting. What was so let me catch up on some of the questions. Where do I get my mentor advice from? Advice or advisors on bringing a huge project into the world? You mean how I found the mentors? You know, I'm in Chicago, which has a pretty good. It's not a big game development city, but there's a really good indie scene. It's definitely one of the more kind of evolved ones. It's not big like San Francisco or Seattle or LA, but you know, we have studios like the Young Horses that which were previously, you know, they had a successful game and kind of have gone through in recent years and have gone through that process, and you know, are in a position to kind of give advice. I don't know if they see themselves necessarily as mentors. You know, they were just like, well, we were kind of doing this thing and it became successful, but still, they have their knowledge and experience is invaluable. Yeah, Octodad. So those guys have been a huge resource for me. You know, I'm gonna talk to, you know, we're getting closer to shipping, right? And I have a lot of questions about, you know, working with Sony, having the game come out on PlayStation 4. There's a lot of stuff to be aware of with consoles, but the Octodad guys have gone through that, so that'll be. So I'm gonna go to their office, I think, later this week, just to, I'll kind of tell them like where the game is at, what I'm hoping to do. Physical copies, a lot of that. Usually with indie games now, they do like those limited edition releases. So it will depend on if the game does well or not, right? It's one of those things where you do want to make sure if you print X number of copies that you sell them all out, otherwise you just have merchandise sitting around. So I'd love to, but yeah, that's gonna depend on how the game does. Oh yeah, I love to do an art book, and again that'll also depend on the game doing well. I think for that I would definitely do a Kickstarter, more as a pre-order system. Am I doing that right now? No, I'm just organizing the hierarchy. I have all these things just kind of randomly placed, and it's making it a little harder now. Now that I'm almost done with it, it's kind of making it difficult to move this thing. Not yet, but it will. What about the beta builds? I'll start sending those out once they're ready. It's a combination. There are some that are like this tool for this is Pro Builder. This is a super old version of Pro Builder. But for example, like I can hold on. Unity's super slow. Yeah, I see. I've got this tool to preview how the game looks with all the post-processing applied. That's a custom tool. um, why not study while watching? But are you you're majoring in physics? You're in high school? Or maybe you're just studying for fun. It's weird. It's like when people say they're studying something, we automatically think they're in school. It's like, why would you study if you're not in school? Hey, Gruz. Wow, how's the heat wave? I'm using a plugin called ProBuilder to do the modeling. It's different. Ah, first year of university. Oh, that's very exciting. I don't miss my university days anymore. But that was fun, though. I think if I go back, I would not be as stressed. You know, you ever think back to school and you're like, why was I so stressed? All I had to do was like go to class once in a while and party. Though, to be fair, it is much easier to learn stuff once you have a reason for it, you know? It's like when they teach you linear algebra in school, you're like, why would I ever need to learn matrices? And now as a game developer, it's like, oh man, they're super useful. Yeah. I mean, I do also think the